We're going to talk ACC hoops. Duke picked 1 by ACC Media, Louisville 2, North Carolina 3, NC State 4, Virginia 5, then SMU 6. And it's interesting because, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about, when was the last time? I can't remember the last time that Duke, UNC, and NC State were all picked inside the top 4. But that's what we've got. Mike DeCourcy, national college basketball writer from the Sporting News, is joining us at TSN Mike on Twitter. That we've seemed to have hit like old school ACC basketball with those 3 schools in the top 4. Then you throw Louisville in, who's kind of a newbie, but it does sound and feel somewhat traditional.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have that group all looking like they'll succeed this year. Obviously, it takes a lot between now and March for that to happen. In terms of, I'm not trying to say this won't happen. I'm just saying that in 2022-23, North Carolina was the preseason number 1, and then did not make the NCAA tournament. So just a caution that things that are projected don't always happen, but in all honesty, we usually come pretty close.
Yeah,
we're usually in the picture with these projections, and it's really kind of surprising how close we're able to come now, given how much change there is, how many teams completely turn over or mostly turn over. It's harder than it's ever been to project these things, but we're still doing pretty well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, the preseason poll unfortunately reflects last season's results. And I think in the case of North Carolina being preseason number 1, or I think they were preseason number 1 that year, it reflected the previous year's results in the face of some, like we all thought, well, there would be roster issues. Now, we didn't think it would bottom out, but we thought I was not on board with them being where they were picked. But I'll tell you this, I think NC State is better than what the Associated Press preseason poll said. I think they're better than first among also receiving votes. I think they've got a dynamite roster, and their like best player this year, who's going to be Darrion Williams, I think is a stud as a college basketball player. The versatility, the leadership, the success that he's had, I think he was preseason player of the year over anybody named Boozer in the ACC, which is pretty good. So I think he's going to be great, and I love the way Will Wade coaches a basketball team.
Oh, I mean, he does a terrific job. You've seen that now at LSU, at McNeese. He's been extremely successful and was able to go into the NCAA tournament last year and pull an upset. Darrion Williams last season was outstanding for Texas Tech on a team that was terrific, and in the Elite Eight he scores 23 on 50% shooting, and was really important. Although he was not efficient in the Arkansas game, he was really important to them winning that game that they won in overtime. They made a massive comeback on the Razorbacks and John Calipari. And usually in a circumstance like that, with other good players coming back, I mean, they had a chance to stick together at Texas Tech and perhaps do something special. And he saw greater opportunities with the Wolfpack, and I think he's going to really enjoy his time in the ACC.
Oh, my gosh. It's going to be a blast for him. I feel great for NC State basketball fans. They've had good teams. There have been some good teams. Nobody's denying that. But I don't believe there has been a legit level of excitement around their program in a long time. And like they've had good teams. They were a 3 seed in, 2003. Lost in the second round to Vanderbilt when they got Matt Frigied, as they would remember it. But that team, which was led by Julius Hodge, who's one of my all-time favorite people, let alone players in the league,
right.
that there was excitement going into that season, but it was excitement in spite of Herb Sendek being the head coach. And I don't want to get into why it was misguided, but they didn't have that level of excitement because really of Herb. They had already made their decision about Herb. Will Wade, the new guy, everybody's fired up for the way he has approached all of this. He has been outspoken. He's been honest and transparent. I mean, you could not have gotten off to a better start before a game's been played.
Yeah, I think he came into a situation that is looking for this sort of energy, has been for a while. I mean, as much as I really respect Herb as a coach, there were things that he did. I remember being with him right after he'd taken the job. And, of course, this was at a time when Carolina and Duke were Carolina and Duke in all caps. And, of course, they're still pretty close to that. But it was really rolling in both those places. And he came in and we were talking about open practices. And he said he wasn't going to open his practice to the media. And I'm like, come on, man. You're the coach at NC State. You should be inviting people off the street to watch you practice.
Yep.
That's my teaching time. And I felt like he kind of lost the room on that day. And that never that whether or not Will has open practices, it's a different time and all that. I would always encourage coaches to do that, but the important thing is he has that dynamism, that charisma, that energy that can make you at NC State, which is a great traditional basketball school. You need a little bit of fight, not physical fight, but spiritual fight. To get you into the room with the other two. And if you just if you try to just basketball it, you have to be almost perfect.
Yeah.
You need more than just X's and O's and even Jimmys and Joes. You also need a little bit of spirit, and I think Will Wade brings that.
Charisma has always worked well at NC State. Jim Valvano was, for the most part, very successful, but the charisma carried the program when it wasn't at a high level. And at the risk of running out of time before I get to something I want to get to, we know Duke's going to be excellent. I don't know, are they Final Four good? They certainly have good personnel. I'm not 100% sure they have enough depth. Carolina, I think, has rebuilt the roster. Funny, last year they struggled. They had no big man. I'm not entirely sure their guard play is good enough to go real deep in the NCAA tournament, but that will work itself out, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about them on the court when they start in a couple of weeks. But let me ask you this, because you talked, Mike DeCourcy, about NC State and the tradition of that basketball program. We just had ACC basketball media day this last week in Charlotte, and Jim Phillips, the commissioner, was talking about staying at 18-game conference schedules, but preserving the rivalries that we need to preserve, which I don't care what we're talking about. There's only one that the ACC has to preserve, and that's Duke and Carolina. Just like in the Big Ten, there's really only one, I guess UCLA, USC now, because that's part of the league. It's just Ohio State, Michigan. There's not a lot of other rivalries that have to be played every year. But leaving UNC and NC State off of the we must play every year list is disrespectful to really the history of that rivalry. And they do not play twice this year. And this would have been a great time because they're picked fourth in the league. And we knew they were going to be good 4 months ago. I don't understand not having that as a home and home this year.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me because it's not like you're asking anyone at NC State or Carolina to then, as a result of protecting various rivalries, they have to climb two mountains. Either one. I mean, in Carolina's case, yeah, I mean NC State could be that, but they haven't traditionally been not since 83 or 75 have they been a mountainous program. It's been a good program a lot of times. But not like, oh man, we got to play them 4 times, those two teams, those guys 2 times, and those guys 2 times. That's not fair to us. You can't say that because you could make their 2 play Louisville, and it could equal out or even be more difficult.
That's
perhaps,
Duke.
Depending on how things go.
Duke plays Carolina and Louisville twice each. That's fine.
Well, there you go. I mean, so it is more difficult in some ways, at least on paper, for Duke. No, I don't. So from that standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. And from the standpoint of the rivalry, how could you say that's not worth protecting? That I don't understand that at all. I also don't understand how you could, in the preamble, disrespect both Paul Bunyan's axe and the old oak and bucket, but you did. Indiana, Purdue, Minnesota, Wisconsin are not happy right now. But you know, I do think that you have to look through tradition. I mean, if you're going to protect rivalries, you should protect Pitt-Syracuse because they came from the Big East. Sure. They had some fabulous games. You should protect that. But some of these teams have too. And in this case, this is both State and Carolina can be said to definitely have two long-term rivals.
I just don't. I didn't understand that. It sounded disrespectful. Might not be the right word. It sounded like we were ignorant of the history of the league because I have talked to a number of people. Jimmy Black, who is a national champion at Carolina,
yes,
told me on the air that when he was playing, State was the bigger game, not Duke. And that is not from 1950. That was from 1982. So He said that was the game we played that we wanted to win more than any other every year. Roy Williams recently said, I would rather beat State than eat. Like, he absolutely said that. To me, that was a complete miss on the part of Jim Phillips. All right. Final. We only have like a 2 minutes left. You do brackets for Fox. Jerry Palm does brackets. Now he's doing his own thing. Joe Lunardi, who created the industry for ESPN. Yes. The ACC brought in Palm and Lunardi to help them by calling in the experts. Help them figure out a way to get more teams in the NCAA tournament. Mike, what's the best way to get more ACC teams, basketball teams, into the NCAA tournament, short of expanding to 90 schools?
The way you get there is you win more out-of-conference games, and you can, and against quality opposition. And some of that comes down to how you schedule. Do you put yourself in an advantageous position when you are in position to be advantaged? By that I mean, does Pitt play enough in a year like last year where they were kind of a team that could have made it if they had been able to hold it together in the final month of the ACC? But they did a better job of putting together a schedule last year than they did the year before, but it still wasn't exceptional. They still didn't have a great number of non-conference games, but it was better. And if they had held it together down the stretch of the ACC, they would have made it. They would have had enough quality. They played Wisconsin. They won at Ohio State. There were some other matchups in there that they did as well. And that's how you do it. You can't. I think if I remember correctly, and please don't hold me to these numbers. Okay. But against the SEC, they were something like 3-30 last year.
Terrible! It was they won. I think they won twice in the SEC ACC challenge. Duke was one of them. I forget who the other one was.
You don't need me to fly to Charlotte to explain that. It's right there. You know, like good for Joe and Jerry. I hope they had a good dinner at Ruth's Chris or whatever. But like, they're not going to fix that.
I know.
I couldn't. You have to do better than 3-30 or whatever the exact number was.
Hire better coaches, schedule better teams, win enough of those games to mask whatever issues you might have. But if you win enough of those games, you don't have enough issues to keep you out. It is such a basic thing. We are not going to math our way into more NCAA tournament teams. All you can do, unless the math is adding up points in a basketball game, that's the only math that's going to get more ACC teams in. Mike DeCourcy of the Sporting News, at TSN Mike on Twitter. My friend, thank you very much. I actually wanted to talk about other things, but we're out of time. So we'll have to do this again very soon.